Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I'm here today with a requested video of how I take care of my handbags, how I store, how I clean them. I have a lot of handbags behind me. As you can see, I have been collecting it for like 10 years now, I would say. And so I thought this topic was very interesting and appropriate, and I would like to share what I've been doing with my handbags with you. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Emily and I love handbags, as you can tell. I also love travel, fashion, luxury. So if you like any or all of those things, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you'll be notified of my future videos. Thank you so much for all of you who requested this video. I think from my recollection, Handbag Foodie was the one that most recently requested it. So thank you so much, as well as to anybody else who have requested it. And also thank you to all of you who are watching it and leaving comments below. I would love to hear what you guys do as well. Just full disclaimer, I am not an expert by any means with all of these materials, or what's the best way. I'm just sharing what I have done and what has worked for me. So this is kind of like a show and tell. I would love to hear your thoughts and your recommendations as well. So I've written down a lot of notes because I think there are a lot of different topics to cover, and I will leave the timestamps below in case you wanted to jump from, one topic to another or jump back, whatever helps you kind of navigate to get the full benefit out of this video. I did separate the question, how I care for my handbags, into kind of 3 different sections. So the first one is the care part, and the second section is how I clean them, and then the third section is how I store them. Now they are all very somewhat interchangeable because how you store it is caring for it. Caring for it is by cleaning it. How you clean it will affect maybe the way you store it also. So all of these things are kind of intertwined, but I will try to cover as many of the things in each of those 3 topics. I think one of the very important things to mention is that every handbag is a little different. So whether it's made out of leather, and even then, what kind of leather? Is it treated? Is it pebbled? Is it lambskin, or is it maybe something that is nylon based, or is it coated canvas? All of these will affect how you care, how you store, and how you clean them. Also to mention, every handbag size, shape is a little different as well, so I would do different things for each one of those. So if you have a specific question and it doesn't get covered here, you can leave it in the comments below, or you can send me a DM and I'll try to answer it. So let's get into our first topic, which is care. How I care for my handbags is I generally protect all of my handbags in some way or form, especially if they have not been pre-treated or coated or something like that. So what I mean by that is, if there is a smooth leather, I generally treat this with a all-weather protecting spray. And I've mentioned this in my videos before. I will list it, the item here, and also actually link it below as well. This is something that I've used a lot for most of my handbags. I wouldn't say all. And usually I would test a small section of it first. I wouldn't do it on just anything. But typically for leathers, I would use this because I know that color transfers can happen with my clothes. I know that scratches, I know stains can happen. And with a coating like this, it's generally more protected. I also know that I will get caught in the rain at some point, or maybe, water can splash on it. And having this protective weather coating, it's going to be a great help. Now you have to remember to read the fine print of this bottle. Generally, you're not supposed to use it on patent stuff, and so I would never do that. But, again, you do what you feel is comfortable. I cannot recommend one way or another. Again, I'm not an expert with these materials. I just wanted to share my research, my experience, and what I've seen over the last 10 years. I would definitely treat my leather handbags that the leather hasn't been treated with this weather protection. Now, if it has been treated, so if it's been, pressed like caviar leather or patent leather, I generally don't do anything too much with that. I think that one is fine on its own. And then with suede, there's also a special suede conditioner that you can use. I don't have a lot of suede bags, so I actually don't do much with this part, so I can't really say too much, but I just wanted to say that that is also another leather that you will come across. And then if you have coated canvases, those are generally okay. I generally don't do any treating with that. And if you have fabric materials such as like this, my Dior book tote, I will treat this with another fabric protector, and I'll link that here as well. That one will help it prevent from getting stained or getting wet and damaged. I also would use that for like my nylon Longchamp bags as well. Again, I would test a small region of the bag before doing a whole spray because you don't want to damage your bag. And a lot of the times I do want to point out that brands, if you do take them back to the bag spa or whatever services they have, some brands won't take it back if you've done stuff like this to it. So I would definitely consider all of this before doing it. Because you don't want to void your warranty basically. But yeah, in general, I've done it and I have never needed to bring a lot of these bags back to a spa, for example. Another care item that I do to my bags is to put an organizer in the bag. So again, with my Dior book tote, I just literally used this last weekend, but it has an organizer in it. You can kind of see that. The organizer that I get is usually from Zumoni. Zumoni has a ton of different organizers that they sell for different handbags, but they also just released their custom order form so that if you have a bag that they do not make an organizer for, you can order it. And I do have a 20% off code I'll put right here and also link below. It works on the custom orders as well, which is amazing. You get to pick from 2 different thickness felt, and so it can work really well if you need something a little bit sturdier to hold up like the shape of a bag, or if you want something thinner so that you don't take up too much space if it's a small bag. So why I use this is because for 2 reasons, actually 3 reasons. One's to organize, but in the terms of care, I use it to line the bag. Basically, if I have a spill, it won't get onto the bag, and so I care for it by preventing the damage. The second thing is to keep the shape of the bag. If you have a looser bag and wearing it or putting heavy things in it could distort the shape of it, having an organizer will definitely help with that. So that's 2 ways that you can use an organizer to take care of the bag. I also like using bag hooks when I'm traveling or when I go somewhere, run errands, because generally with bags, I don't put it on the ground because the ground is very abrasive or hot or dirty, and that's one definite way of getting your bags messed up. So I do have a bag hook that I usually bring in my bags, and I have one from Carrie. I'll put that in, I'll pop that right here, and I'll also list it below. But that one's a very sturdy one that will hold up like a very heavy handbag, tote bag that I've had. It had no problems. It just hooks onto the side of a table. Sometimes I even put it on the chair next to me, or sometimes I just wear it, I keep it crossbody. In fancier dinner places, I've even had someone bring a table for my bag. So that doesn't happen very often, but yeah, I generally care for my bags by bringing the hook so that it doesn't have to touch the ground. I also often travel with dust bags or little baggies that I could bring with me. So if I'm putting it in a suitcase, I generally will bring a dust bag that I came with, or I have my own dust bag that I'll put it in. So these dust bags are very helpful when you're putting your bag in a suitcase, because then it won't get scratched, it won't get color transfer, and certainly if something were to spill in your luggage, you will have some protection. If you are bringing a tote bag, let's say as your carry-on, I generally also bring another baggie. So for my Dior tote that I just talked about, I have a little kind of shopper bag that it could fit into, and these are very handy because you can carry them compactly and lightly, but it'll also protect your bags if you're putting it, in the under the seat in front of you when you're on the airplane. If my bag gets something wet on or rained on, I wipe it off immediately. I won't wait to get home, but I do clean it once I get home if I've noticed some damages. I don't generally wipe my bags every day I use it, but I do kind of take care of it by cleaning it. If I wear it a lot, maybe like every week, or if I know that I'm done wearing it for a long time, I will wipe it before I put it back onto the shelf. So that kind of brings me to the next topic, which is how I clean my bags. So like I said, if I do use a bag a lot, I will clean it maybe once a week, or when I see a spot immediately, I'll clean it. But if it's something that I use maybe just once, but I know I'm going to put it away for a long time, I generally wipe it down before I put it away. It's just so that if there is a spot, you want to get rid of it as soon as you can. The faster you do clean the spot, the more likely chances that you'll be able to get rid of it. So if you have not already, you know, used the organizer tip, which is to prevent it from even happening, let's say you do see a spot, I generally use a wet paper cloth, a very soft cloth with just some water, and I kind of buff it out. Now you have to be careful, because if this is a material that's very, you know, sensitive to water, you probably don't want to do that. I would first maybe consult with the brand if you can, to see what's the best way to fix it. But if that's not an option, maybe they won't take it, you're out of warranty, you bought it secondhand, whatever. The next thing I would try is just to use a little bit of water on like a very soft cloth. So I have like one little one right here. You probably don't want to use the color side, you probably want to use the white side, and then just kind of like circular buff it out. And that's generally worked for a lot of dirt or even just light stains. I've been able to get that out. If I cannot seem to do that, I also use a leather conditioner. Now this is not just cleaning, but it's also caring, you know, because the leather conditioner can prevent cracking and, you know, wrinkling of your leathers when they get dried. But this way, there's a little bit more emulsion to help remove whatever stain or dirt or anything on your bag that you can. So this is also another one. I bought this one at Nordstrom. I could try to find it. I bought it a while ago, but there's probably a lot of other ones as well. If I could find it, I'll list it below as well. And if you have treated your bags, like I said, from the, you know, caring part of it, it generally is pretty easy to wipe off any stains because there is a protective coating on it. All right, so that was a very short section, but I do want to move on to the storing section. So how I store my bags. As you can see behind me, I have a lot of bags. It's not everything that I have here, but it is somewhere that I want to eventually get them all in. I find that by having them all in the one place, I can rotate them out. I can, you know, use the one that is more useful for that event. And I also found that when you rotate your bags, just like when you rotate shoes, they get less combining wear, if that makes sense, so they don't wear out as easily. So anyway, here they all are. I keep it in this closet. I don't know if you can see, but there is a closet door right here. There is some light that can get through, but generally speaking, this door will block most of the sun that's coming in here. It will also block dust, and it doesn't get too humid here. I live in California, the Bay Area, California, and it's not too humid, so that's not generally a problem. But if it is, and you have bugs, you have other things, having the doors is very helpful to protect your bags. I generally don't store my bags in the boxes or the dust bags because I want to be able to see them. I want them to be able to breathe. So having it here, for example, is the best way that I think I could store them, because I could see it and they can be like out and about breathing. Yeah, so let's see. I do try to keep them in a dry and cool and not in direct sun, which is here. And I think when you put bags in the sun, even if it's not like direct sun, over time, even just having sunlight beating on it will eventually cause color bleaching with sun bleaching. So when I'm traveling, I also do try to like move my bag away from direct sun as well, if it's just going to be sitting there for a long time, or like direct heat or something like that. Like I said, I don't put it in a box or a bag. I generally keep them like this, and you can see that most of them, some of them are even sitting on like my other dust bags, just because I don't want them touching the black part of this, although I think that I'm just being paranoid. But yeah, like with lighter bags, for example, like this Chanel one right here, I am a little afraid, even though there are feet, that, you know, over time it could get color transfer from the wood. I don't think it will happen, but yeah, that's also another thing that if you're extremely worried about, that's something you can do, is having it sit on something else. When I store them, I also make sure that I either have an organizer in there to hold its shape. So for example, like this mulberry one, you might have seen me talk about this one already. I do store my organizer with it. This is again from Zumoni. I custom ordered this one, although now because it's been so popular, they have put it, I think, as an item you can just buy. But I do store my chain strap in there, tucked in, so that it doesn't imprint onto this bag. But having the organizer keeps its shape. Now, if you don't have an organizer, you can also stuff it with air paper so that it doesn't collapse on itself. So that is a really good way to make sure your bag stays pristine. This bag is my Alma BB, and it's actually one of my oldest bags, one of my first ones. I've had it for like 9 years now. Again, I store the chain inside the bag. I keep it stuffed so that, you know, it's not like pushing out, but it definitely like does not collapse in. The handles are just resting down here, although if I get fancy and I have the space, I might actually lightly tie the handles together. I think because this material is a coated canvas, it's not as, you know, delicate as, like, let's say lambskin, you won't imprint the handle, but I certainly wouldn't store it sideways because now the bag would rest on the handles and then it would imprint into the shape of the bag. So I do store it upright like this. I also store it with the zippers open just because I think that way it can breathe, first of all. Second of all, I have this heavy lock and I don't want it to rest on the top, pushing it down. So it's kind of hanging off to the side like that. So those are the considerations that I do put when placing the bag in a certain way. For my Chanel flaps, like this one, this is a small Chanel classic flap, I generally put the papers, again, to stuff it, to keep its shape. And then I also tuck the chain in so that it lightly rests on here, although I have a lambskin one where I don't even do that. I actually have you know, a little tissue paper to sit between the chain and the leather, but because this is a bag that I use kind of in rotation and it's caviar leather, I kind of just let it loosely sit here. But the rest of the chain, I do put it inside because I don't want it to sit on the chain, it'll indent the leather. Another thing is I don't snap this, or really, like, I don't really lock this because I think having it able to like freely move, it won't keep the leather stuck to itself. So again, it allows for more breathing opportunities and everything. I don't know if you can see the one up here. This is my Lady Dior, and this Lady Dior, I actually have the handles tied. This Lady Dior is made of lambskin. It's very delicate, so you can see that I even store the Dior keychains in here so that it doesn't imprint onto the leather underneath. I hold the leather handles up so that it doesn't touch this, and I also keep a dust bag right here so that the handles don't collapse on itself. So this one is especially more delicate, which is why you see all these things here. This is loosely tied, so again, the leather's not squished to itself, but yeah, it's also stuffed and the chain is inside as well. So this is an example of a more delicate bag and what I do to like really make sure it is well taken care of. Another handbag that I have sitting down there is actually my Pearl Crush. My Chanel Pearl Crush is made of very delicate lambskin leather, and I store it in a very unique way. So as you can see, this contraption, which I will link below, there is 2 ways that you can hook a bag here and here, but I've hooked it so that it just barely touch the bottom, and then I also put like a little cloth, it's dust bag here. So the idea is the chain won't touch the leather, so it won't imprint it, but you know, it also doesn't sit on itself because it's such a soft leather and it doesn't hold its shape. I don't have an organizer in here, so it will, I had a feeling if I just let it stand on its own weight, it will collapse. So I also do keep the felt here so that the leather doesn't touch. This is all things that came with the bag, and there's tissue paper that came with the bag I just keep in there. And again, I don't lock it so that it's not like I press the quilts together. So this is again, another very delicate bag, and so I take extreme caution in kind of keeping it in good condition by doing it this way. I also have another one here. It's the same thing. It's kind of the the same, actually I bought 2 of them, and you can see that this is my Sunrev bag that is a more delicate material. So I hang it up so that it doesn't lose its shape, because it's rounded at the bottom, there's not really a spot where it could sit. So I could put it sideways flat, but then it'll collapse on itself. So I do stuff it and I hang it up to keep kind of its original shape. I also have another Go Yard bag back here. It's hanging just because I have a space for it, but yeah, this is also more, this is very easy going. I actually don't really need to do this, but I figured since, you know, the other way is just to keep it flat, it takes up more space. So doing it this way actually takes up less space in my organization. So that's sort of what, why it's kind of placed like this. But yeah, this is another way to sort of decorate your, you know, space, and so that they're not all so monotonous. For my bigger totes and stuff out there, I do store other bags in it. So like, for example, this Longchamp bag, I do keep at the bottom, and it's so I put other things like my laptop, you know, travel organizer and everything in here. So this acts as like a tote bag, but I can also store things in it. And so yeah, this one is pretty easy to take care of. I don't really have, you know, any wear and tear on it, but I do have an organizer in here. Again, this is from Zumoni. I don't know if you can see, there's a blue one in there. So it does allow the shape to be held from in these kind of bags. So yeah, this is an example of a very carefree one. So I don't do too much. It's just sitting at the bottom of the shelf, but I do keep it stuffed so that it could retain its shape, but I also utilize it to store other items. If you've been here before, you'll know that I also love packaging. So I do keep a lot of my boxes, even though I don't store a bag in it. And if you just looked right here, you can see that I actually use one of the boxes. This one's from Meloy. I love the color of this box, and I use it to kind of prop up something behind this bag so that I can see the bag behind it without, you know, yeah, just because the height works out, it works great. So that's also another way I store it. But if you don't have those, I have purchased these acrylic risers. So these ones are also really good to, you know, stack your bags so that you can see it and be able to use it. What you don't want is to stack your bags on top of each other. You don't want them like leaning on each other, because it will distort the shape, and it could create color transfers or indentations. And that's it. So those are all my tips, tricks, and things that I've collected over the last 10 years. I am no means an expert, like I said, but these are things that I have gathered from YouTube videos, you know, essays telling me how I should care for them, or just my own experience. So I would love to hear what works for you. I would love to know if you picked up any tips here, and leave some below if you have any good ones as well. I will list everything that I mentioned here, the organizers, some of the dust bags. I do have discount code for, which I'll link below, but all the other ones I don't, I'll list the links as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it helpful. I hope to see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.